Hello and welcome to a new vlog and trip report, and today we're taking a TGV back from Paris in France to Frankfurt in Germany. Here on the map you can see our route today. Our train today is a TGV Duplex. We are using mainly the LGV Est Européenne, and there are two different ways to go from Paris to Frankfurt, and our train is using the way via Saarbrücken. We're starting at Gare de l'Est in Paris. I would say a medium-sized station with a few shopping opportunities, few cafes, restaurants. It's a quite a nice station. And here we can see our train today at TGV Duplex, and with this one we're now going to Frankfurt. Of course, we're going to take a look at the interior. We've already seen it a few months ago when we were taking the TGV Duplex to Marseille. It's of course the same interior. We're traveling in first class again, so we have the same very soft and comfortable seats, big sturdy tables, reading lights, power sockets, electrically adjustable chairs. As I said, they are very comfortable. The seat pitch is a little bit smaller than in the ICE, but therefore the comfort of the seats themselves is better. And here we are now leaving Paris Gare de l'Est. We're now going through the city of Paris for a while on a regular railway line. It's the railway line Paris-Strasbourg, but we're soon leaving the regular railway line. Here we can see another train that is going on the same line, that is the ICE 3 of Deutsche Bahn. If you have the chance to choose between a TGV and an ICE, I would recommend taking the TGV, as it is, in my opinion, much more comfortable. We're still on a regular railway line, but as soon as we are leaving Paris and the cities around Paris, we are changing for the high-speed line, and then we're going with up to 320 kilometers per hour. There are several stops on the line, but we're not using any of them. We are going directly to Germany. We have one short stop directly in front of the border, but I think that's just for border controls. We're soon crossing the LGV Interconnexion Est. Here we have the railway line that is connecting the airport of Paris-Charles de Gaulle with Marne-la-Vallée-Chessy. That's the station at the Disneyland, where we have almost been in the last video. And there is also a connection between those two railway lines. Unfortunately, there was no direct train between Marne-la-Vallée-Chessy and Frankfurt, otherwise I would have used that and we would not have to go all the way through the city center of Paris. I found a train that apparently was running between Bordeaux and Frankfurt that was stopping in Marne-la-Vallée-Chessy at the Disneyland, but I was checking now and there was no such connection offered at the moment, so I'm not sure if it still exists at all. So instead, we're now on this train. Now we're going directly to Forbach. There's not too much to expect from the landscape. You remember from my video where I was going to the Monarch Countess that the bus ride on the highway was pretty boring, as there was nothing to see except fields, and of course it's the same here from the train, just that we are much faster with up to 320 kilometers per hour, so of course it's less boring. Here we've already reached the first important station in between. It's the station Champagne-Ardenne TGV. It's the TGV station of Reims, and there you have also a train connection on to the city center of Reims, but we are not stopping there. We're going through with full speed. After Reims, the landscape is even more boring, there's even more fields, so it is not an interesting train ride, except for the speed of course, but the alternative, taking the car, is much more boring, because here you see this landscape for about an hour. With the car you see it around 4 or 5 hours, so the train of course is much faster. And whilst we are now approaching the next station of Meuse TGV, which is the station of Verdun, we can listen to the sound of our train going full speed through that station. You've also seen another TGV, I think it's going to Strasbourg. There's no direct train, as far as I know, between Meuse TGV and Frankfurt. All trains to Germany are going through that station without stopping. We're now approaching a bridge on which we are crossing the river Meuse. Here we can see it. And also a railway line, which is not in use anymore. And then we are continuing on. Next important thing we can see is the Canal de l'Est. And then we are crossing the railway line from Commercy to Metz. and after that there is also a connection from this railway line on to Metz, whilst we are still going through that rather boring landscape. But every now and then there are some valleys and some bridges, like here. Here we have the railway line to Metz that I was speaking about a few seconds ago. And now we're approaching the point where the railway line to Metz is branching off. Here we can see it. With this railway line we could go to Metz, but we are continuing on the high-speed line. Here at this point there was a station supposed to be constructed called Vandières TGV, but it has never been built, and instead the station was built a little bit closer to the airport of Metz and is now called the Lorraine TGV. Here we are crossing the river Mosel on the Viaduc de la Moselle, which is 1510 meters long, and then we are approaching Lorraine TGV. Here we can see that railway station. It's quite far away from basically anything. Just the airport of Metz is nearby, 7 kilometers away, but there are bus connections to the city center of Metz. This is the station Lorraine TGV. And shortly after that, after almost exactly 300 kilometers on that high-speed line, we are leaving the LGV Est Européenne and we are now continuing on the Remilly-Saarbrücken railway. And on this railway line we will have our first stop, but from now on we are traveling with a much lower speed, as we are now on regular railway lines that are also used by regional trains. Here we are approaching the station of Benin, where you have connections in the direction of Sarreguemines, and there's also a railway line to Thionville, which is not used for passenger trains anymore. But we are not stopping here. Our next stop is in a small town of Forbach. This is the last station in France. I think the main purpose of this stop is for the border patrol to board the train. They are joining the train until Saarbrücken, and in the meantime they are checking the passports of the passengers. In my opinion, this is the much better system compared to the system in Kiel, because in Kiel the train stops, border patrol comes on board, checks all the passengers and then leaves the train, and the train continues with a delay. And here they can do it whilst the train is crossing the border into Germany and they are leaving in Saarbrücken and the train is still on time. Here we are crossing the River Saar and here we are approaching Saarbrücken main station. From now on we are back in Germany and we are now traveling on railway lines that we've already seen here on this channel, so we're not taking a that close look at them anymore. Our next stop will be in Kaiserslautern, and after that we will also stop in Mannheim and then we reach Frankfurt. Here we are going through Homburg Saar main station without stopping, and then we were approaching Kaiserslautern even ahead of schedule. There are a lot of interesting trains to see, like the D0 with a new livery, the class 628 and a Thailand, even a class 628 of the former Sylt Shuttle Plus can be seen here in Kaiserslautern. We are then continuing through the Pfälzerwald, which is a huge and beautiful forest with beautiful landscape. Here at Neustadt an der Weinstraße we are leaving the Pfälzerwald and we're now in the upper Rhine plain. Here we are already in Ludwigshafen main station, going through that station without stopping, and then we're crossing the river Rhine, and right after crossing the Rhine we are approaching the main station of Mannheim, where you also have a lot of connections in all directions in Germany. But we are staying on the train, we're continuing on till the end of the line in Frankfurt. What's quite interesting now is that we're not changing directions, but we're using a railway line which is not that frequently used by trains. We're going via Mannheim-Käfertal. I made a video about that railway line a couple of years ago. There was only one train a day on that line. Now it's a few more. The S8 is going via Mannheim-Käfertal. Here we can see the currently refurbished station, but only at peak times trains are stopping here, so still quite interesting to use this railway line. But that means that we don't have to change directions in Mannheim, and now we are on the railway line to Frankfurt. Here we are already close to Frankfurt and soon we will cross the river Main. Here we can see that. That means that we are now approaching Frankfurt main station. It was a fantastic and very comfortable ride, and that's why if you're thinking about taking a car or a train to Paris, I would highly recommend taking the train, as it is much faster, much more comfortable. The highway is pretty boring and you will see it for a couple of hours, and then you have to go through the traffic of Paris. So that's why I highly recommend taking the TGV. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it here. You can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.